And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 131 of Fans of Power. I'm the man behind the mask, Joe Amato, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Tyler T-Rex Baker. T-Rex, shit, hold on, sorry. Didn't mean for the cussing. I got to turn this down. I had the volume up on my.
Hell is
I've
that?
done it. I've done it twice where I had the volume up on my laptop because I watch us in the chat room as we're doing the show. I did that earlier today. I had the volume up, so there you heard me twice. But I was gonna say before we start off the show, this week, the unfortunate passing of Dean Stefan, who's worked on the new MYP Masters of the Universe cartoon. He passed away, so that's a sad thing. And I didn't know how many people heard it, and I know you heard it, and it's just that's always so sad to hear something like that.
Yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and close friends and relatives and anybody that just appreciated his work on the show. I mean, it's certainly sad to hear, and we'll praise his works as we get deeper into the show here.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot. Again, just as Tyler said, all prayers go to his family and friends, and yeah, he'll be missed. I mean, the as we'll get into later. There's a lot of amazing episodes that he wrote for the MYP cartoon, and a lot of memorable moments. That's what's going to be fun is as we do this and speak not only of some of the episodes but moments. There's a lot of moments I remembered in that cartoon that like gave me chills, that just got you and sucked you in. So we'll get to that in a bit. First, also let me say hello to everyone in the chat. And we have Tom Charlton, Tamara Shipper, Zen Brown, and Brad Collins. Thank you all for joining us. But is there um is there any other recent news that you can think of that things coming out or things being shown or previewed of in regards to Masters Princess Power New Adventures?
Yeah. Not to sound a little self-centered here, but thanks to one of our listeners, Eric Amon, I am the proud owner of something I thought I'd never in a million years ever come across. And he was gracious enough to give me an extra copy of the Ultimate Battleground mini comic.
Wow, that's a pricey comic too. That's a pretty rare one. That's awesome.
And Eric just decided to give it a good home. He overheard me talking, I think, about 2 episodes ago that I did not own a copy, let alone the epic playset itself as well. But it's something I pretty much came to terms with that I'll never own the mini comic. And he was extremely gracious enough to just send it to me, and I told him I treat it just like Indiana Jones and the Idol before Belloc takes it from him. When I finally got it, I just kind of rubbed the facial hair I had.
Yeah, exactly.
So
did he send you that plastic little case too? He sent you that little plastic cover?
It can't. I mean, he took such great care of getting this to me. Like he tried to send it like priority mail or overnight, and it arrived while I was at the beach. So I knew that when I got home, I would have it waiting on me. But he
looks like it's in great condition too.
Oh, I mean this thing, and I'm just now opening it out of the seal. For the podcast here, I have yet to actually hold it in like the actual book itself. I figured I would.
Let's hope your fingers ain't greasy. You don't want to get acids on that thing. No.
Oh my god, this thing is like in pristine condition here, man. I mean, this is like case fresh. It's flat.
It smells like the 80s, huh?
It's got a nice little musty 80s smell to it. Like it's been locked in an attic somewhere for eons, and it's been pried open there, and you find like hieroglyphics on the box saying, you must get this to Tyler from Fans of Power podcast. And
that's cool. That's cool. That is really cool. And by the way, I was gonna say Zentron's in the chat room, but also Eric Amon, he's there in the chat room. So there you go.
All right, Eric. Thank you very much, man. This is I can't wait to actually read the actual hard copy myself. I read it enough in the Dark Horse book and on He-Man.org. To read it in person here is a big deal. So this is something I can't stress enough. I figured it was just going to be Joe Amato, was the only person I knew firsthand that owned this and the play set. So Eric has made something that was pretty much impossible to get a hold of. So
well, he said you're welcome. He said that in the chat room. He said much love. So there you go. That's damn cool.
I can't thank him enough for that. It was a really, really cool, extremely gracious present that he gave me. I can't thank him enough for that, really.
That's awesome. Like I said, it always shows the generosity and how damn cool everybody can be in the community with each other to do stuff like that. It's something you would never expect somebody to do. So when it happens, it's kind of a shocker. It like takes you back. Like, my God, somebody actually did something like that. It's great. That's what I love seeing about the community. You see the kindness, the actual genuine kindness among fellow fans, and like I said, you become friends. Doesn't mean you have to meet somebody physically face to face to be their friend. I've met so many great people within here on this, YouTube channel with this, podcast and on Facebook, and it's great, man. People are just so damn cool.
No, thanks to this podcast, and I mean, hell, I still have yet to meet Joe in person. We have never shaken hands. Like, Joe and I are still communicating.
Well, we have to have that mega power shake one day if we ever meet face to face.
We do, man. We don't know what we're really getting into, and then we shake hands, and then boom, just everything explodes. But it's been really, really cool, thanks to the podcast, for people to reach out through Facebook. Whether it's a friend request, I just assume that they listen to the podcast or have at some point, or well, I figure that's got to be the only way they know me from. I can't imagine them know me from anything else.
I'm sure they might have caught you on Facebook as well through a lot of the He-Man groups, or when you comment sometimes on a.
Pretty much just kind of promote the podcast. I'll share certain pictures here and there. People like the Conan cover photos they use, or movie stuff. Maybe I know some people like that as well, but I assume that most people, if they're friends with Joe and they're friends with Axel or Kevin or Penny or John Atkin or something like that, there's just it's all He-Man related. So I'm assuming it's got to be through this podcast, because I can't think of anything else people would know me for. So it's been really cool. We say it every week. We don't say it as a cliche thing to close it out. We're really thankful that no matter where you're at on this planet, if you're in Australia, Scotland, England, Canada, you're in LA, you're in South America, you're in Russia, whatever. If you took the time to reach out to Joe and I, send us a friend request, or send us something on Messenger, or a YouTube comment, or just reply to one of our posts about the podcast. Joe's always posting random things about He-Man. I'm kind of more about promoting the podcast and stuff like that. But if you took the time to respond to something that we posted regarding He-Man, we appreciate it. It's
No, most definitely. Like you said, we always
say anything.
No, they don't. They don't. And we try to, at least, like you said, we always try to acknowledge anytime somebody says something and thank you and have conversations. And I always feel bad if I accidentally might forget something. That's when I feel horrible, because you might get a lot of messages like, dang it, I forgot somebody, which makes me feel like crap. But otherwise, I think we try as much as possible to, always talk back and forth. Because like I said, we're a big group of friends. It's a big community. And that's what I love about it. And also, Adam Gabbard, thank you for joining us in the chat room. But it's like other stories and things, like Dan Rice. It seems like it always comes back to him one way or another, him and his kids. But him and his kids are super Masters of the Universe fans, and they listen to our podcast. But also, Dan did something the other day in a group, and I told him, I said, "I'll give you some crap about it, Dan. I won't mess with you," because he took his cell phone and he was videotaping his two kids, Philip and Alex, and Philip just started randomly doing his own Masters of the Universe story. He was starting to talk. He was going to do a story, and Dan kept interrupting him, and Dan kept cutting him off. And I was like, "Man, you're taking him off his game." He's like, "No, I'm trying to keep him on his game." And I was like, "And you were wrong about some stuff too, because Philip was right, and you were making him wrong." He's like, "No," he's like, "I'm just trying to, keep him on his game." I was like, "I actually don't think you know what you were talking about, Dan, because Philip, he was talking about one part. He said he had Skeletor had a plot to get into Castle Grayskull. So he sprayed some invisible spray on himself to turn himself invisible so he could get in there." And then Dan said, "Well, why doesn't he just use the Diamond Ray of Disappearance? That can make him turn invisible." And then, Phil kind of kept talking and re-talking. I told Dan, I said, "Dan, remember, the Diamond Ray of Disappearance isn't going to turn Skeletor invisible. That's going to send him into another dimension." I said, "So you were wrong to do that to your son, Philip." He's like, "I know." He's like, "I was just messing." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then Philip said, "Well, once he got invisible and went into Castle Grayskull, he tried to take He-Man's sword from him while he was sleeping." And then Dan said, "Well, He-Man doesn't sleep. Remember, it's Prince Adam that sleeps. He can't sleep as He-Man." And I was like, "Don't you remember in that one book we just talked about?" I said, if that was the one that they escaped from the slime pit, or that one read-along book, I said, "Remember?"
Eight-Man book where He-Man sleeps.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, He-Man was sleeping and He-Man had a bed. But he kept, edging him on. But either way, the kid was saying some great stuff. That's why I love seeing the imagination of children. It made me think about when we did it, because he was like, yeah, and at one point, Skeletor was able to make, the snake that was around Snake Mountain come to life. And then it slid it all the way to Castle Grayskull. And then when it went around Castle Grayskull, it set back the stone. And I can't remember if Philip's like 8 or 9, but it's just so cool seeing the story, the web that he's weaving of this story. And he's like, and it went around Castle Grayskull. And Dan was like, well, what would you call it? Like, Castle Snake Mountain or something. But I just love seeing it. And the other random thing was cool is Alex, he's the younger one. As they were talking, Alex never got a chance to talk. In the background, somebody was driving by and had some like music, some funky music that was playing, and out of nowhere, you seen Alex start going to the side and dance. It was hilarious. But I was like, I gotta give a shout out to our 2 youngest fans who listen to us, and just to see, it's great to see Masters is alive in them, and that they're still using imagination like that. It's great to see with kids these days.
Yeah, I have to ask Dan's kids what do they think of Lizard Man, Clawful, Jitsu, Mossman, and Cyclone, and Clamp Champ. Yeah, if he's listening and his kids are, I'd like to hear their thoughts on the characters that are not as discussed as heavily, like Clamp Champ and Lizard Man and Clawful and Jitsu. I'd like to get their initial thoughts on characters like that. What does, because adult fans are like, just dismissing a lot of those characters, not Clawful and Jitsu, but
Kind of Lizard Man sometimes gets dismissed. Maybe Lizard Man just gets kind of thrown to the side. You think?
Just feel like he's an absolutely wonderful character. A lizard, actual lizard man that's buddies with He-Man, and I'd like to know what a younger generation thinks of this character. Do they? Because and to his credit, the character is beloved, but I often feel like he's overlooked and neglected, much like Clamp Champ. So I'd be curious to hear what the boys have to say about that. Our really young audience, do they dismiss him, or is Dan training them in the ways of enlightenment and showing that these 2 characters are absolute badasses?
That would be fun to see.
As Apone and Aliens would say, absolute badasses.
No, it is. It'd be interesting, you're right, to see what they think of them, because I believe it's Philip who loves Stratos. Which, remember, I was giving him a hard time about, Stratos sucks. And
you're the guy that needs to be shoved in his locker, like going by and dumping his books. Well, don't worry, I come along and hang Joe from the flag post and it's McDonald's lunch to Goldberg from Mighty Ducks or something like that.
Yeah, and Alex, he was the one that was loving Modulok. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what they think, because even like Grimbot in the chat room was like, maybe what about Ram Man? Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard them really mention anything about Ram Man or Dan, but that'd be cool to hear what Dan has to say about those. So we appreciate it, because just to see the excitement, like Dan was doing some other random video, and in the background you see his kids were like walking into the screenshot, and while he's doing his videos of talking about some, maybe a figure he unboxed or whatever, and like, Dad, we gonna watch the MYP cartoon? We gonna watch He-Man? Just seeing the excitement from the kids, I was like, well, this is just cool as shit. I mean, it's just great. You know how we were when we were younger. You just couldn't wait to watch the new episodes. And so they're not only into Filmation, they're into MYP. They definitely have a good range of knowing stuff about Masters of the Universe.
Question to Grimbot. I'd like to know what he thinks of Lizard Man, and could we ever see him in the foreseeable future?
That's a great question. I would love to have Grimbot on the podcast. We'll have to see, because he has a very great, vast knowledge of Filmation. And not only that, it seems like he knows a lot of other cartoons. So you heard it here, Grimbot. He's asking you what you think of him, but also if you do ever want to join us on the show. Like I said,
I was asking if we would see Lizard Man in the foreseeable future.
Oh, I thought you meant on the show, because you know what's funny?
Of course, I'd love to have Grimbot on the podcast anyway. That should go without saying. But hinting, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Ever see Lizard Man in the foreseeable future?
Gotcha.
It could be a dream, but I'm hoping maybe like when James has told us, if you didn't already know, when he does the Return of Faker, he plans to put together some like mock VHS tape covers, like of the Magic Window and the original like RCA Columbia House. So I'm hoping that maybe just for fun, when they come up with the covers and they do the back, there's a shot of Lizard Man and Cyclone that maybe aren't even featured in the Return of Faker, just as like Joe had said. why is Lizard Man and Cyclone here? They weren't in the episode. What episode is that from? Just
Yeah,
as a fun nod, just because it's Cyclone and Lizard Man, like standing side by side as if they're like observing like something that's coming at them or something. Has nothing to do with the episode.
that
I
would be
just
cool.
really cool. So I was just curious, Grandma. I wonder if we would ever see Lizard Man in the foreseeable future.
Well, you definitely planted the seed because I mean, what's funny is I thought actually you also were asking question if he wanted to come on the show because I was going to ask him this.
Yeah, I'd love to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, it's funny though. It's bizarre because that's something I've been wanting to ask him, and I was going to say, would you like to join us? But anyways, he replied. He said he loves Lizard Man. He said he was in one of 13 episodes that aired over here in the late 80s where he lives. And he said, as for maybe on the podcast, he said maybe. So, well, definitely. Yeah, we'll have to get in touch with you some more about that. But now let's talk a little bit about some of the MYP episodes. And I didn't know if you want to discuss a lot of the great ones that Dean did write and worked on because there was many, like you said. I mean, there was the whole from the beginning, the courage of Adam. I know he did the Council of Evil, I think part 1 and 2, The Last Stand. Yeah, just go on. You talk about a couple, but yeah, there's so many great episodes, but I'll talk about some of the moments also. There was moments that got me, and I remember getting chills.
I give Dean a lot of credit because his fingers around all of it since he was the executive producer on the show and, was the head writer and everything. So I like to give him credit that, a lot of the things, he's got approval over all of it. And or some of his ideas as well. But I mean, I initially would like to jump into moments as well. I mean, moments of pure excitement was the snake pit, and seeing this actual rat lore and Cobra Khan in the same episode, seeing Stinkor. I mean, for me, some of the biggest moments was seeing characters brought into the cartoon that either hadn't been, period, or they were reinvented. Like Count Marza was super exciting. Evil Seed, Moss Man. Too Bad I lost my mind over just because of just how unbelievably well done Too Bad was done. Cyclone and Roboto. Because I remember when Roboto showed up, me and my brother were like, "What the hell is this? That's not Roboto," and it was great to have that big unveiling when he works on himself. So, I mean, God, it just moment wise, an Underworld where Skeletor and He-Man are having their sword fight, like the 3-way sword fight with King Randor and He-Man and Skeletor. That's a wonderful moment. But I mean, overall, it was such an exciting time waiting for each Friday and sitting down at 5 o'clock here for a while before it moved to Saturday nights and recording every episode, me and my brother, and just wondering who's going to show up in this episode. If it wasn't given away in the synopsis, it was kind of like fair. Anybody could show up.
And you're right. And that's what was great. You never knew who was going to show up. And I still will never forget when that cartoon first came on TV. Back in the day when it first came on, I'm not joking when I say I lived across the street from the factory I worked. I mean, I lived right across the street. I was there and home in 30 seconds. That's how quick I could be there. And I remember I was getting off work. I had the VCR all set just in case I missed anything. And right when I clocked out, I ran my ass home and I got there just quick, just as it was starting, even though I had it recording set a couple of minutes early. I never had that feel. I mean, it was like since I was a kid, since I had that feeling. I was like, it's strange. You're like, oh, you're an adult. But I tell you what, it was getting me chills. I'm sitting down and I'm just watching and I'm just engrossed in what the hell's going to happen. And I love the story from just the beginning to the end and just seeing what Adam, how, of course, Adam would eventually, know he has to become He-Man. He's told the story. But that excitement level of finally having He-Man back was something that I'll always remember. They did great. I mean, as through the series, as you see, it had that good atmospheric music as well. Like when Adam when he would transform into him and that build up of that music. I always say that's what's so important in cartoons. Also, it's not just how something will look and if the story's great. You have to have a great setting of music. Like I would, I used to pick on New Adventures, and I always said New Adventures, there is zero impact with their music. There's no oomph in like the transformation and sound effects. And sometimes I'll say stuff just to give you crap or just to say it. But what's funny is
I'm not oblivious, and as we've done the show, I'm more comfortable. Like, look, the New Adventures. No, the cartoon is a hard sell. But what I do appreciate is that it's a great idea, a lot of great characters. It's just the execution, the overall product.
Right.
It
Right.
leaves a lot to be desired. I'm not, but it still doesn't mean that characters like KO and Lizor and Vizar and Optic and Karate do not belong in the He-Man mythology. They
Oh
can all
no.
perfectly. I mean, and to bring it right back to MYP, I hated Count Mars in Filmation. But however, when I found out in the synopsis that Count Mars was going to be a Mechanex Lament, me and my brother both were like, they might do a pretty damn good job with this.
And it was a definitely different Count Marzo than which you were picturing too.
We just kind of felt like, given how everybody had looked so far, that enough that it was cool that it won my brother over, who was dismissive of He-Man for years, out of the New Adventures. It won him over with all the redesigns and everything, and we both really liked Count Marzo.
Oh yeah, Count Marzo. I mean, no, he did. He had a fantastic redesign, and you're right, because I'm sure when you heard it, you're thinking immediately the image you have in your head of Filmation. You're like, dear God, why are they bringing this guy in here? And then you see this reinterpretation, you're like, wow, that was a great upgrade. I mean, some upgrades might be, but that one was a great one. But no, like, just quickly say back to New Adventures, that's what Grimbot, when he showed me in the chat room, and I couldn't remember if he did it or what, but he said, Joe, I want you to check out this New Adventures intro and also the cartoon with the Filmation sound for the intro and then sound effects. And boy, it seemed like it made such a world of difference. Just hearing the Filmation sound effects, it brought like the atmosphere to life. That's what I mean. You got to have a great combination when you do a cartoon. It's the mix of story, the way it looks, how it's portrayed, the act, and the music. But
it's a shame the people who did New Adventures. They did Cops, they did Inspector Gadget, they did Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters. So you felt like, well, these guys quality, great intros and great animation. I'm like, what happened with the He-Man cartoon where there wasn't memorable music throughout the show? Like Ghostbusters had good music, so did Cops and Inspector Gadget. Name a couple.
That was the biggest hard sell. That's for me, my opinion, for New Adventures. God, that music and the sound effects, it really took me out of the show. That's what wasn't sucking me in. That's why when this cartoon, the MYP came out, and when I rushed home for it, I'm super excited and I'm waiting to see what happens. And it sucked you in. They did a great job of all that. I love the transfer. I mean, the first time when Adam turned into He-Man, I just remember getting them damn chills. I still get goosebumps. Even some of the moments, like, as we see later on in the series, that was some of the genius parts that were written in some of the episodes. Like, I love that Dean was able, and I think it was the Council of Evil Part 2, when He-Man, remember, is trapped by the magical vines, and he is yeah. And then, the sorceress is talking, maybe this is something that Prince Adam could do, or I forgot how she phrased it. I know you probably know it word by word, but when He-Man reached and grabbed the power sword and was able to use the iconic phrase we only heard once in Filmation, let the power return, and bam, zoom, he went back to Adam. And that's what's cool. It shows first the genius of using that line so we could see the transformation from He-Man to Adam, but also show that it worked for the moment of this cartoon. Like, let's say it was done in Filmation, which I absolutely loved Filmation, but you couldn't have really had that scene because remember, He-Man and Prince Adam have the same exact physical build. So it worked for this new MYP because of how Prince Adam is physically different than the He-Man character in his build. So that's what was cool to see, was when he said with power return, and bam, he's Adam, and Cringer, Battle Cat turned back to Cringer. They were able to get out of that, but right after they got into it, he's looking at Cringer like, okay, I'm going to turn you back into Battle Cat again, until Teela interrupted. But I like that there was that moment. I also like that he was able to show, Cringer as being, at least in this episode, you got to see Cringer save the day at that part. Remember when Adam is fallen after Webster shot that web, and then he was pulling him up, and then Webster said, "Why bother?" or whatever, and snapped the web to let Adam fall to his death. And as he's falling out of nowhere, boom, Cringer. I remember when he caught him and landed on that safe, ground. I actually went, yes. I remember doing that when I seen that. I was like, because it was so damn cool to see. It's like, look at Cringer taking charge and taking his ass to Castle Grayskull too. It was like, you gave some respect to Cringer, a character that a lot of people want to pick on. So I love that moment too.
One of my favorite moments from Council of Evil Part 2 is He-Man's fight with the Giants. Because the Giants, I mean, I was so kind of taken aback when Buzz Off's Pride came out, and I like, this episode sucked. I've since grown to appreciate and enjoy it a lot more. And when the Council of Evil showed up, I'm like, I wonder if the three Giants will show up. And you kind of have an idea of like, Marzo probably show up, Evil Seed and everything. But I really grew to like the fight between He-Man and the three Giants, Asdar and Kazdar and Bellstar.
Yep. Bellstar, I think. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, and I really just enjoyed the fight, the just the animation of He-Man, leaping up and throwing a giant boulder at them and leaping out of the way and then smacking He-Man around. It was just a fun, energizing action sequence. I just from that particular episode. But
Really quick, I just want to say hello, JSP. Dan Rice said he's joining us late, and Dan, we just talked about you and your kids, so you'll have to catch that in a bit. And also, got a new listener. It's his first time tuning in. It's Jose, and thank you for joining us, Jose. Appreciate it. So,
cool.
I wanted to give shout out to all them.
But I really enjoy there's that first moment of He-Man meeting Skeletor for the first time. And He-Man meeting the Snake Men for the first time. Like when he breaks into the void, Rat Lord, Cobra Khan, and Snake Men, warriors are there, and they look up and see He-Man crash through. When I saw that, I'm like, this is a big moment. This is He-Man meeting the Snake Men for the first time. So that was a big moment. And then when Skeletor and He-Man confront each other at the end of the beginning, that was another big moment for me because for this show, like this is fun to build up for their first encounter together. And in the transformation sequence, the first moment, because this is something I meant to bring up to you earlier, were the trailers that were advertising, like the trailer was I think it came out at San Diego in summer 2002, I think, or around maybe it wasn't San Diego because I remember right before the toy line came out in August, or in July, damn it. Anyway, that summer, because I had just graduated high school and I had seen the trailer had dropped, like with no dialogue other than I think He-Man saying, I have the power and you're all masters of the universe all. And it was just images with good epic trailer music. I remember playing it for my brother over the phone. I said, dude, I swear to God, I think this is a cartoon you'll get by, especially Triclops, because there's a shot of Triclops firing blasts from his visor. And I watched that trailer so many times. And then when they dropped the Cartoon Network commercials, and one of my favorites, it's on YouTube. It's this epic, like I think minute trailer, and it does a great job of depicting this action-oriented cartoon that's going to be coming out, and the music that's playing, and telling you quickly what the show's going to be about. I still watch that trailer to this day because it's just so energizing, and it was such a great way of getting the fans excited that it's new He-Man cartoon, and we're taking it seriously here. We're not going to be turning it into some sort of Trinko machine, because you think, this property warrants itself to comedy. If you're wondering what we're talking about, check out our recent episode of Beyond Retro.
Yeah, I also I no doubt. I also would say, what's funny about how you say how you remember the first time you seen or heard something. I also say what I always say first, hello Jake Juggalo in chat room. But I always say that it took me a while until I got an actual computer to get online. My only way of getting online back in the day was through my Sega Dreamcast. I got it in 1999, and I, of course, played it for years and years, and it also could go online. So my first experience of hearing or seeing anything was through the Dreamcast. I can't even remember where it was at, but it said, "Hear the first audio clip from the new Masters of the Universe cartoon."
Yeah.
And it was Prince Adam saying, "By the power of Grayskull." And I remember I hit it. I was like, "Oh man, please let me be able to do this," because through that on the Dreamcast, you couldn't go to randomly sites and usually hear video or even see video. It was just you played games online and connected with your friends. But I clicked it, and when I heard him say "By the power of Grayskull," I was like, "Oh my god!" And I would hit it over and over. It's like that was my poor man's way of just hearing something. But I listened to that stupid line. Not saying stupid to put it down, but I mean, I listened to it so much. It's like that's all I could hear, and that's why I prayed. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Well, we didn't have YouTube back then. It was strictly this is what was available on like He-Man.org. They had the clips uploaded, and I would just go back and have to go through the old news feed and try to find where on June 15th it was the big long trailer, and then they uploaded the Cartoon Network Toonami trailers, and it was just it was so much fun, along with the figures being introduced, like what was coming out that summer and everything like that. It was very exciting, man. I remember just
You know, if it wasn't for Toy Fair magazine and back in the day,
Yeah,
I
and
probably wouldn't have.
large toy guy, because that's what I
Yeah.
remember seeing, a long big spread of like all the 2-up
Well,
figures.
well, for
And they,
me, I remember. See, I told you I was out of collecting for a while. You know, I went from collecting figures because then I would start playing video games. You're with girls, you kind of lose that flow, and eventually somehow
you're
cycled.
painting the picture here that I was not into girls. I just had a hard time getting girls' attention. So
No, no, no,
don't
no,
get
no,
like, you know, oh well, since Tyler was there during the
no,
dark
no, no,
ages,
no.
like
So this is no. This is how I'm gonna
Joe
cycle.
hair greased up in the leather jacket, toothpick,
Hey, how you
but
doing?
the
Eh?
black
So let me.
guy, and his name is Pal, to reference Uncle Buck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hey, pal. No, I remember that with that damn toothpick. I thought he was gonna choke. But well, this is what's weird is I didn't collect any figures. My cousin though, he loved like starting lineup figures. He liked
Yeah.
things like that. And I remember I was like, "Oh man, I'll get you some of those for Christmas." He's like, "Well, what can I get you?" I was like, I don't collect action figures no more. He was like, "Well, you love the Simpsons cartoon. They got some new Simpson figures." I was like, "Man, trust me, I don't want that stuff." He was like, "Okay, I won't get any." Christmas came, he got me 3 Simpson figures. I think he got me like Grandpa, Lisa, and I think it was Chief Wiggum. I think those were the 3 figures he got me. I looked at him, I was like, "Damn, these are kind of cool." And I put them up on my shelf. I said, "Oh no!" And I almost like when there's something I like, I almost get the shakes at first. I said, I gotta get more of these. And it became a Simpson craze. And I became a quest to find all the Simpsons figures, which when I started getting Toy Fair to find out more about them, they had get this exclusive Toy Fair version of a certain Simpson figure. Well, since I subscribed to Toy Fair, that was my first way of seeing about the new He-Man cartoon and the toys. That's how I found out about He-Man was through them. So if I never would have got into Simpsons, I wonder, man, how late would I have been to even known about a cartoon or the figures? I knew nothing of them. But then it became the search. I was like, oh man, hopefully if I can get online to a real website someday, I can find this stuff out. And it was when, before the figures came out here in the United States, it might have been the org. It could have been where somebody said, man, if you guys live in Canada, we got the new He-Man figures already.
Yeah, I
And everybody's
remember
like, yep.
that. Yeah.
Everybody's like, what? No way. And my dad, he loved going to the casino in Canada, in Windsor. I said, yo, Dad, you think, when you're going to Canada next time, do you think you could check a Toys R Us if you find it? And I gave him some money. He's like, they got those He-Man figures. Could you get them? I was like, I'll go look. And he went, looked, and he came home like that previous night. He's like, sorry, Joe didn't find it. I was like, oh, dang. I was like, that's all right. So I went to bed, got up for work the next morning to make breakfast, and sitting on the kitchen table was all the He-Man figures. He found the whole wave. Oh, man, I was freaking out. So that's another epic moment I remember, some figures, which, of course, then tie into the whole cartoon. But very good times, very good times.
That reminds me. When the summer those toys were coming out, I went to our local park down the road here with a buddy of mine and my brother, and we just went to go like hit a ball on the tennis court, just pretending like we knew how to play tennis. And I remember he said, "You know those He-Man figures? Walmart's got them right now." And I that's it. And I grabbed my brother, I grabbed him, we jumped in the car and ran straight to Walmart, right across the bridge. And it was, oh, oh my god! And it was, I mean, of course, that was when they only released the heroic assortment. And I had made a point, because these were available on eBay at the time, and I was determined to keep up this tradition of each new line of He-Man figures that had come out. He-Man and Skeletor were the first two I got, from the original line to New Adventures to the commemorative figures. It was by chance I got He-Man and Skeletor, and I thought I have to keep up this tradition. And so I went on eBay, and it was the summer I graduated, so I had like over $1,000 in graduation money, and I was just I bought He-Man and Skeletor on eBay, because I just said I had to officially purchase He-Man and Skeletor to keep this tradition going. And then I actually got in hand He-Man, Stratos, Man-at-Arms, Battle Cat, and I think the Battle Hawk, all at that same day. Took them all home, and we all were just looking at them. And my brother got into purchasing them all. And that summer, I spent buying commemorative figures and buying every 2000X figure. I was spending like $30 for Merman on eBay before I could actually get it in hand.
Isn't that
I
great?
mean, God, but I didn't care because I didn't have a job. All this money for just graduating high school, I just spent it all on eBay that summer. Everything was He-Man and eBay all summer, from vintage to 2000X. and waiting for that epic as hell cartoon to come out. So
And it was such a great time because it was so cool when you go into the store and you're just sitting there crossing your fingers. You didn't know if something was going to be there, and if some new wave, it really did. It took you back to your childhood of like, oh my god! And when you see Masters of the Universe and there's tons of figures, you're physically getting so excited, and you're going through them all like, oh, they got this one, this one, this one, and you yank them all. I mean, these stories, it's weird, and like how I say, about my dad, which Dan Rice said, your dad sounds amazing. No, he is. Like I said, he's doing so many cool things for Masters when it was out at the time. Like another one, Aldi's, if you remember that store. They were the only store, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the only store in the United States that got that last wave of the Snake Men assortment with King Hiss and all
oh,
them. Remember, that was an international thing, but they advertised in the paper all these Masters of the Universe figures. I was like, huh? And I showed my dad, I was like, what the heck's an Aldi's? He was like, oh, there's one, like, a few miles down on this other road, which I never even heard of an Aldi's. I was like, you think you could check when I go to work? So it's always when I'm at work, whether I'm work or if it was him going to the casino, he's like, I'll go look. So he went while I was at work, and at lunchtime, I ran across the street, and sure enough, he's like, Joe, and he put a big brown paper bag. He's like, there you go. And he had every single one, including some of the variant colored ones. But he's like, I'm gonna let you know. He's like, I almost got into a fight. I was like, what happened? He was like, well, I sat there and I looked for everyone you said it would be there, and I'm grabbing them and I'm stacking them. I'm putting them on the ground right next to me. I have a stack. He said, this one guy came up and he was looking at some figures. He's like, hey, he's like, that's Rattler. And started going to my dad. He's like, no, no, no. He's like, that's my stack. He was like, this is all mine. He's like, those are all yours. He's like, yeah, there's mine. He's like, you go check on the shelf. But he did. My dad wiped out the whole entire shelf, and I think all that was up there was like a couple leftover variants. But that's crazy. Yeah, it's just fun. I miss that adventure. I miss the hunt. That's the thing that's sad about not seeing them in the stores anymore. Is I
we
admit it.
all do. We all miss
Yeah.
and hell. I even got Nathan into collecting the 2000X line. We used to go out on the weekends looking for any of the 2000X figures and Marvel Legends at that time. And I remember he called me up from a Kmart in Withville saying, "Hey, I found Mechaneck." I'm like, "Son of a bitch!" He's like, "I got you one." I'm like, oh
Oh, you thought he was going to keep it just for himself, and you'd have been stuck with
because
none. Huh?
he used to, like if he could one up me, he enjoyed doing it. Even if it was a character he may not have wanted, like he would just enjoy savoring that he. But because he knew I was such a He-Man nut, he was always trying to help out. So that was a big deal. But I remember he could care less about the variants. And I will say one of the inside jokes between me and Nathan is we'd say, "Oh man," when they see something that's really lame, so we act like we're really excited about it by yelling, "Oh man!" And we got to another Kmart here in the area, and I found the battle pack or the flight packs, the Eagle flight pack and the Bat flight pack.
Okay.
At the flight packs, he goes, "Oh man," because he could care less about the flight. I was just like anything He-Man that I hadn't known. He was like, "I gotta have it." And
Yeah, I got him.
on the phrase "all man" is something me and him still use when we make fun of movies that we like. Oh,
Really don't care about it.
yeah, or just anything. So, dude, the 2000X toy line, one of our inside jokes originated from that.
That's pretty good. Yeah, they did have some toys or some of the stuff from the 2000X line that I didn't flip over, like the flight packs. Like he says, like it's like like a quick little cheap version of Zoar and Screech, you could say. But I didn't really flip over them or the Battle Hawk and some stuff. I was like, I got a couple of vehicles. I admit that's the one thing I didn't get all. I got all the figures, but when it came to vehicles, I thought some are cool. Like I got the Bash and Beetle, it reminded me of Bashosaurus, but I was like, I didn't go nuts over them. But no, that was a quick side rant on our the vehicles and figures. But no, now we can talk a little bit more about some of the MYP episodes and moments. Now, there's another moment that I remember gave me chills, and I know you're not a super fan of this character, but I admit that when King Grayskull, you already know what I'm getting to, when we finally did see about King Grayskull, and I know you didn't flip out over that whole character in general, but
What?
King Grayskull, I know you didn't like him.
The moment I saw the character, I was so pissed off.
Yeah,
But
I know. I know you were.
I digress. We're not here to point out things I didn't like about MYP. So.
No, no. But when it came to the power of Grayskull, and of course, Socius is telling the story about the past and everything, I did remember. I love the part when we finally got to see Hordak and the Horde and King Grayskull face off against them, and how he kind of took care of Mantana and the rest of them like nothing, and then coming at Hordak. And I remember with that sword how he was coming, and Hordak is just standing there like it's absolutely nothing. And you see that force field of energy, and King Grayskull is trying to get closer and closer. And then, like Hordak even makes a comment about, like, oh, I see you have some power or whatever. And then all he does is that scream that
Yeah.
blasts King Grayskull back. And then you see the horde wraiths or whatever the hell you want to call them. They're up there. And I remember when they all started shooting their power and energy on King Grayskull, trying to take care of him and kill him. And then when he just started standing back up and said, I have the power, I remember I did get chills on that, and it opened that portal, which destroyed the rock around, Castle Grayskull, which, no, I guess you can see why the chasm was, but I liked that moment. There's certain moments, but it was the whole thing with Hordak, because I was like, my God, this is one intimidating wizard, if you want to say. You could feel the magic from him. He seems so damn evil. And like I said, we always say it sucks we couldn't get more of him, but that was well at least written and shown the power of this character. And I like how he wrote that. I know, like I said, I know you're not a super fan of the character, but I did like the moment, and I like seeing the stuff with Hordak, and damn, it was cool. It
Well,
sucks
I
we
mean,
got
everybody universally likes that episode. It's strictly on the horde. I mean, I
pretty
know
much, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's universal love because of that. Even people who hate that episode, like myself, I still, me and my brother used to rewatch that episode just for the horde alone. We could care less about King Grayskull. It was all about.
I just like not the transformation, but I did like the I have the power moment for the first time. I liked it. You see, he's a lefty too.
I, I didn't like it at all, but it was well worth to see the horde in full swing, even though we see them kind of get their butt stomped pretty quickly, aside from Hordak. But with that and the appearance of the Snake Men and Rise of the Snake Men Part 1, that was a big deal because, and I'm going to do my best to be nice here, to introduce this new faction as such a powerhouse, to come in and dethrone Skeletor and turn all the evil warriors to stone, and you see Merman fall to pieces. And I like, oh my, that's the character that died. Someone's going to die in this season. It's Merman. He died. I'm like, and I remember Nathan and my brother thought I was upset. Like, no, this is ballsy. This is great. I mean, they had the nerve to kill off one of the top tier henchmen, and then he's brought back in the next episode. But still, it was an incredible introduction to the Snake Men, because I remember thinking too. I almost felt like, we'll get Rattler, we'll get King Hiss and Tongue Lasher, but I'm like, Snake Face and Squeeze, I almost felt like it'll be a long shot if we get them. So as we're watching it, and you're seeing Tongue Lasher jump out, and then you see the long green arms, like,
I lost it.
Oh my God!
And Snakeface, because he's my favorite. Yeah, when Snakeface popped up, I lost it because he's my favorite. Also seeing Squeeze, but when they were all there, that was so damn cool. I mean, what's funny is you talk about the whole part with Merman, how he got killed, but then also they brought him back. That's when those are the moments when I always like sitting back into the community and seeing what fans had to say, because I usually just didn't take part. I remember that was one hell of a back and forth debate, because first there was the people that said, my God, I can't believe he killed established character like Merman. It's terrible. And then the others were like saying it's great, but when he was brought back, I remember so many people pissed. Why did you do that? It took away that impactful moment.
Yeah.
But do you remember that? People were losing their crap about that.
I remember posting a few things when the 2000X cartoon was on, and everyone just was ignoring me. Like, I went on the ranting about Fisto being Man Roses' brother. I'm like, man, if I was Fisto, I'd take that big fist and like smash my head in. And a couple of smart ass people on the Hema.org forums like, well, you better get going to doing it. Wink, wink. And I just like, you guys go to hell. And it was just, I always got ignored, so I just never posted that much, during that time. But I would go and read what people would say for a lot of times. But me personally, I was broken hearted that Merman came back, simply because I felt like it was such an impactful like block builder for the Snake Men's introduction, that they come in and kill one of the evil warriors right off the bat, and to have him dismantled in the second episode, it was just like, oh God. But that's an argument for another day. But that introduction where they come in there, Skeletor comes in after defeating the heroic warriors and sees King Hiss is sitting on the throne. You see his eyes lit up red and squaring off like that, and I mean, even in part 2, where King Hiss breaks into Grayskull and confronts the sorceress, and the animation of him looking at her straight, and these beams of green snakes blasting at the sorceress trying to attack her, it just looked really cool. Like King Hiss, and then Hiss and Zodak fighting down in the lower chambers, I thought was pretty cool. Where Zodak uppercuts King Hiss and he kind of expands back and the snakes kind of burst out to go into action. I thought that was a really cool sequence as well.
There's a lot. You're right. I love that. I love it. Just except there were so many damn moments. I think the Last Stand also where
Oh man, that's
okay,
the episode's The Last Stand.
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of great parts from when you see Mossman finally, like coming and he was floating in with everybody on him. I was like, damn, Mossman sure didn't seem like a joke of a character where, oh, he's just making smells. I mean, he came in impactful and hard with everybody with him, and Roboto on there just blasting away. Yeah, that was a cool ass moment. And plus, you could see He-Man kicking the crap out of all the giants, everybody else. But also, it was like, as it first kind of started, when Prince Adam's there, and when he, I think, got the Havoc staff from Skeletor, it was like, like he's gonna blast him or something. And I think Skeletor said something along the lines of, again, don't quote me because I'm not perfect with these quotes, but I think he said something like, "Stealing isn't nice, but like father, like son, like he's implying."
It's not nice to take things that belong to us, but then again, like father, like son.
There you go. I knew you'd know the exact quote of it, and I always kind of. I couldn't remember if that was something that he was implying something early on. I was wondering what was it he was implying with that quote. I probably forgot from some of the early episodes.
Are you being sincere, or are you just pretending like, or just talking about how you felt at the time?
No, I mean I was being sincere because I actually kind of forgot some of the early.
King Randor, blasting the acid back in Keldor's face and
Oh,
taking
its face. Oh, okay. I always really I didn't quite get what he meant.
They say they were going down that. I mean, that's the thing. The whole Keldor
Brother thing.
Yeah, it's never addressed in the show. You're just, you're introduced to Keldor, and that's all you really have to go on because you can't say it technically the whole we're brothers and you took the throne that I want because we're never told that they are brothers. Well, I mean, as fans, we know the backstory, but within the context of the show,
never officially said.
As you took my face because it's addressed in Underworld too. You took my face, and now I take your life and then your kingdom. So he really holds the whole taking my
yeah,
face.
because that's what I was making sure. I was like, I don't think it was ever said in the cartoon, like I said, implied, but it was never said about their relationship, about them being brothers.
Yeah,
so
I'm glad they, even though we all knew that was something that was coming down the pipeline, I'm glad that was something that we just didn't have to deal with within the show.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I did like also right in within that same moment when Prince Adam got knocked down and Orca was there and gave him the sword.
Yeah.
I love that moment of transformation because as you're seeing Skeletor trying to bring down the drawbridge, and then the transformation of how he looks up and seeing the lightning almost in one. I love that moment, and then seeing how he just juiced up and became. That was a cool ass transformation. But yeah, I just love the stand. It was a very good episode.
Yeah, and then him leaping up, destroying the Ramstone,
yeah,
tearing down all the villains, and then breaking the action, and taking out the giants and clashing swords with Triclops, which that shot of them clashing swords, and then their faces getting closer because they're trying to knock the other one down. Sword fighting with Marzo, and that I like that shot of Whiplash attacking He-Man. He flips him over him, grabs a hold of I think it's Webstor's webbing, jerks him off the battle ram, and then takes webbing, and then takes it and hits Clawful in the neck to knock him off the battle ram. It was just really good, just the best action sequence of the entire show. Just one long giant action sequence.
It did. It was nonstop, especially when Adam thought that all the heroic warriors, the masters are coming to help, and it was all the evil warriors on all the heroic vehicles. Yeah, I like that, but I also
I remember Canada because they got to see Council of Evil Part 1 and 2 before we got to see it.
Oh, did they?
I think there were because it had been spoiled about like what had happened and things like that. I'm like, oh man! So when season 2 started, we got to watch Council of Evil Part 1 and 2, and then The Last Stand. So it just made me so mad that all of Canada got to see the final 2 part, but we wouldn't see it until the beginning of season 2.
It's pretty,
for
they got a
some
lot of
reason.
firsts. Like I said, they got to see the stuff first. They got the action figures first, so they got a lot of the first. But
Yeah,
no, but it was great when, man, you're seeing He-Man getting blasted from Count Marzo, Evelyn, and Skeletor against that shield. That's on around Castle Grayskull. I
yeah,
mean, it's either one of them's going to give first, He-Man or that shield. But then the blast comes, which I believe was Man at Arms blasted to knock it to where He-Man came down, and then you see Moss Man bringing all the heroic warriors with him. But I like the part when Count Marzo was going to use that amulet. And you seen, I think it was Stratos swooped and grabbed the amulet and was in the air. He threw it to He-Man. He-Man hit it like it was a baseball and knocked it basically, well, let's say, out of the park. But it took Zodak, the sorceress, and the power that came out of Castle Grayskull that when it hit Count Marzo, it turned him back into that evil dwarf Marzo. So,
yeah.
because I remember some people thought that when the amulet was knocked out, he turned back into Marzo. It's like, no, 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 that's not what turned him back into Marzo. It was Zodak and the sorceress with a blast through Grayskull that transformed him back into the dwarf Count Marzo. So, yeah, I just damn, like I said, there's just it's a cartoon that like you said, there's some people might love parts, hate parts, but you can't deny that they did really an amazing job, and it is unfortunate, so unfortunate we didn't get any more seasons because I can only imagine what they could have done with the Horde because that little taste that you said so many people remember of the Horde, it was so damn memorable, and that's all we had. It's like, what else could they have done? It sucks we didn't get more, but what we did get, like I said, it's just like any cartoon. Filmation wasn't full of complete all winners. There's some which you'd call some stinkers, and there's the same thing within MYP as well. But it was a damn good cartoon, and definitely should be praised. Very good
It
cartoon.
was. I mean, because everybody from Web Store to Evil Seed, regardless of what Joe has to say, from Mossman to Cyclone, Roboto, all the Snake Men, Triclops, Trapjaw, Clawful. Less said about him, the better. But visually, he was very striking. Whiplash, Battle Cat looked great. Panther looked great. Oh, here's another good moment when it comes back to Council of Ilium, but in the first part when all the heroic warriors are being dismantled one by one, and Skeletor beats the hell out of Man at Arms in the Sands of Fire. Oh, that was awesome, man! Just when he's got his arms crossed and he's come flying at him, throwing everything he's got, and then he's holding him, takes his left hand and just blows the hell out of it with this blast and just dismantles Man at Arms. Like, God, me and my brother both was like, oh my God, this is just, you can't get more badass than that. I mean, that was just, they gave Skeletor so many great moments throughout the show. I mean, Filmation, it goes without saying, but with this show in particular, Skeletor got a lot of great evil moments. But I'd have to say that probably the Council of Evil story arc itself and Underworld, because of that fight between Randor and He-Man. It's a short-lived fight, but it was just such a great way of displaying Skeletor's cunning and how great a fighter he is, and for him to actually physically take on He-Man and Randor at the same time, and they're struggling to beat him. That's great display of like what a good villain is supposed to be, how he's supposed to be portrayed, that he cannot be just so easily defeated like that, that the heroes have to struggle even when they're teaming up on him. And to see him be portrayed as so intelligent in Council of Evil, and seeing him working with this new group. And I liked how he says, I gave up my best warriors for this plan, and them I liked. Just he
And you know
still
what
serves
else?
purpose. Like it
It,
doesn't.
it
Go ahead.
no, you're right. And what else they did, which okay, here's the thing. We've all talked about comedy and cartoons, blah blah blah, whatever. If it's done right, it can work with subtle little moments. Like I believe it was in Council Evil Part Two, when all the evil warriors are getting their butts handed to them and leaving and running, and the only one that stuck around with Skeletor was Webstore, and Webstore said,
Well, that
"I'm
was
still here to fight." And I think Skeletor said something
Joe.
along the lines,
That
"What?
was the Last Stand.
Oh, sorry, Last Stand. My fault. See what happens when I start running them in together. Last Stand. Thank you." So yeah, in the Last Stand, when he's there with Skeletor, and I think he says, "I'm still here to fight," and I think Skeletor said something like, "Oh, how comforting," or he
Yeah.
said something like, and it was, you could hear in his voice like, "Oh, how comforting," like, yeah, you're going to be able to do something when everybody else got the crap kicked out of him. But that's the little comedy moments that can work in something without taking it away from the show and making it seem too funny. You know what I mean? Those are little bits. You know, you don't look at something and say, "Oh, that was a complete comedy show because of that." Those little moments worked, and that's why just to take I guess take a little advice from that cartoon and others. If they ever think about doing He-Man again, you want to do something. Don't turn it into a complete yuck fest, as Tyler likes to say. You can use little moments like that, but still keep it serious. I would wish, in a perfect world, if they were ever to bring He-Man back, hell, if they could somehow continue off, but it'll never happen. It'd be amazing if they could continue with MYP and what they had planned. It won't happen, but if Masters ever came back, I hope it could be given some kind of proper respect. Good stories, good action adventure for people to get into, kids and adults. Please everybody.
I mean, I don't see why a new series could not just be an amalgam of filmation elements, MYP, and building up to new adventures where you've got He-Man and Skeletor for like a 3-episode story arc are taken away off Eternia to Primus, and they win the battle in a 3-episode story arc, and then come back to Eternia, and you bring back the Galactic Guardians and the mutants, and now you've got new factions on Eternia, and you just keep going on with that, and just I think that would be a really fun thing to do, because there's so many great things in all of the canons that I like to think you could still work in stuff like the Faceless One, another prime example of of MYP's genius is. I mean, that's thanks to Larry DiTillio, but that's something that they added to a lot of the mythology. King Grayskull is the only thing I felt that took away from the mythology. I mean, all the other stuff from Too Bad's origin, Cyclone, Roboto. I was trying to think of who else. I mean, we didn't get a whole lot of origins in the show. We're just kind of introduced to these characters because they've already been like Mossman and Evil Seed and Cyclone.
Cool origin, at least for Too Bad. I love the episode where you seen Tuvar Badger. That was genius.
That is the definitive moment. I mean, probably my most favorite moment is the introduction of Too Bad and how they're depicted as two very competent bounty hunters.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Definitely the best, my favorite moment or favorite element of MYP is because Too Bad's my favorite evil warrior. So I just thought oh, this is so great, and how they depicted Tuvar using a lot of equipment, kind of like Predator with invisibility, cloaking, and various devices on his gauntlet and a shock spear and stuff like that. It was just pure genius, and I mean, there was a lot of great stuff in there. I mean, a lot of fun stories, and we're not going to focus on bad like Day of the Machines and stuff like that, where you're just in the island. But I mean, it's I know I've probably spoken more harshly in the past on previous episodes about what I think about it,
but it's something that if fans maybe don't remember seeing them all, or maybe there are fans who've never seen it, I know you can see it on YouTube, correct? You could probably look up any of them.
Yeah, every episode is available on YouTube. I know a YouTube user by the name of Thought Pran. I think it's like THOTPRAN. He uploaded, I think, the entire series. I think he's got New Adventures. I think he's got Brave Star as well. But if you haven't watched the show in a long time, or maybe you're relatively new, or I don't know. I just felt like there's a lot of great episodes that deserve to be revisited, such as Underworld and Council of Evil Part 1 and 2 and The Last Stand, Snake Pit. Courage of Adam's not bad. That's not one I frequent much. Sky War's not bad either. I mean, Lessons strictly just for the Faceless One. And that was something me and my brother would just go back and rewatch, just the 2 segments with the Faceless One. I do remember this. When during the original run, I wasn't going to be home on a particular Friday. I was going to go over to stay over Nathan's house. This was like, I guess, well, yeah, around that time, and I was going to miss because I don't think Nathan was into the show at the time. And The Ties That Bind was the episode that was coming on. I thought, that's going to be an episode all about Teela and the Sorceress. I guarantee it. Probably because of that, I'm not going to be missing much. So I had my brother record it, and that was the one time I missed an original airing, because it's about Teela complaining and crying, and about the Sorceress being PMSing about something. And sure enough, I get home that Saturday and watch. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I missed this episode because it was just a forgettable episode. However, I did not miss a single episode other than that one, from Siren Song to Dragon's Brood and The Island, and I mean every episode was caught and rewatched multiple times.
And I'll admit, when you were talking about, like I said, I know I don't have the amount of, like, I guess, hate of King Grayskull as you do, but here's the thing. I remember when the Powers of Grayskull, when that episode, was being announced, and right when the source was talking about stuff from the past, I immediately got giddy because I thought we were going to hear the name Hero. I was so waiting, especially after I always tell you my stories of when I went to the stores and I seen the catalog, about Hero, Eldor, Gigantosaur, Titus, Megator, and all this. I was like, oh my god! And I constantly waited and waited for figures that never happened. So when they talked about it, I was like, oh my god, we are going to see Hero. I can't wait. And he never came, and I remember I was pissed, and I was very disappointed. I still like the moment I told you about with King Grayskull. What I said, I still like that moment, but I was so let down because I was guaranteed, and I was for sure we were going to see Hero. That, I admit, was a very big letdown that we didn't get Hero. God, I thought it was going to happen.
That and Revenge of the Snake Man Part 2, I think, were the biggest punches to the stomach on its original airing, where I just felt that, and The Island, because I remember The Island came on right after the Snake Pit, and to follow an episode that has a new version of Zodak, Cobra Khan, and Rattler all in the same episode, and you feel like, oh man, the show's just getting better and better, and then you get The Island, you're like, what the hell was that?
And that was with Decker, right? Was that with Decker, The Island? Yeah, I didn't do backflips over that. That one
nobody did. Everybody handled that episode. It was just, that should have been an episode depicted earlier on in the season. I mean, you can't follow an episode like the Snake Pit with an episode like The Island. It was just, bad. I mean, I don't know. Maybe in their eyes, I'm sure they probably didn't think it was that bad of an episode. But I remember it was just universally panned when it came out because it was just that and Buzz Off's Pride. I remember that being another one that was a bit or not as well received either. People were just like, "Oh man, that episode sucked, man." But I've grown to appreciate that. The Island I have yet to revisit since its original airing. I just had no desire to go back and rewatch that episode.
Is The Island your version of what was that called? The VHO or whatever for Filmation?
Oh, search for the VHO.
Search for VHO.
No, I mean, at least, God. And I'm pretty sure Grimbach can clarify that. I think James liked Search for the VHO.
Did he? I just did not like that episode. I did not like it.
Well, you can't have something like called the Kraken, but he's got a chicken beak.
It's terrible. It was a bad one.
Yeah, but it's got cool animation of Merman running and leaping into the water and He-Man doing the same.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, it's a terrible episode. Yeah,
you guys, if you want to see one, heck, and maybe you guys can watch it. And if you have different opinions, you should, always let us know next week if you like to search for VHO. And I'm sure you can find that on YouTube. But
yeah, James just has that on his official He-Man YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen it, or don't know what we're talking about, or you haven't seen it in a while, it's available to watch on that in its entirety. So
there you go. So, well, that's basically that. Like I said, we wanted to honor the series and some of its great moments because it had many of them. So you can catch it on YouTube, any ones you want to watch. But before we wrap it up, I'll cover one question here. But again, this is where, towards the end of the show, we always say if you guys have any questions at all, whether it's from the cartoon, the toys, the movie, anything that you want to ask, go ahead and type them in the chat room now. We have about a 30-second delay, and we'll answer and cover your questions right now. But while you're typing up some questions, I was going to say there was one that's already been brought into the chat room from Zen Brown. And I'll pass it to you, Tyler. He said, I think this will probably be pretty quick and easy, but he said, who would you pick in a fight between King Grayskull and Jaga from Thundercats?
Oh my God, man. Jaga would kick his ass.
It's like there's no second thought from Tyler. It's like, that's it.
I mean, Jaga would just open up the door of King Grayskull's ass and just tear it all apart, spray paint that Jaga was here, and then take the Sword of Omens and just jam it right down there and walk away. He'd rip him a new one.
I have a feeling something like that was going to come. As you guys definitely could see, there's no way Tyler's ever going to support, endorse, or something coming about King Grayskull. It's
Well, no, there is not a single argument that can be made to justify that character, especially when you've been told for years Hero was the definitive ancestor
Was
and
that
the
the main thing that probably pissed you off? Because Jose in the chat room, he even asked that. He says, "Why don't you like King Grayskull? Is it
okay.
because we're probably expecting Hero so much and just bam?"
We were never told anything about Hero, but every fan, and it was figured out from Val Staples and them who were working on the MV Creations 2000X He-Man comic, that one of the powers that be, I think it was behind the cartoon. I think it was the cartoon or the one or the other. I think this has already been where King Grayskull had already been introduced, and they in the comic book threw in a cameo of Hero. And because everyone was kind of led to believe, do these guys, are they aware of Hero, like what the character was supposed to be? And one of the guys behind the scenes told them like, oh, I saw you throw Hero in there. And when Val told that story, it was acknowledging that, okay, the powers that be are aware of Hero. They're just choosing not to use him. They came up with their own thought. Because that's what bothered me the most. I felt like we've already been given an established backstory as to the origin of He-Man's power comes from this wizard called Hero in a toy line / cartoon / mini comic series that we never got finished. So for years, you're just like, oh man, the potential and wondering and fantasizing about what this line could be. And we're told we're going to see the origin of Grayskull in this episode. And that's all we're told. So you're waiting and waiting and waiting. And okay, Hordak. And to see reference to the Snake Man. Oh, it's coming, man. It's coming, man. And then you see this big, bulky, doppelganger of He-Man come walking forward like this. And you're like, the hell is this? Where's Hero? No mention of Eldor or anything like that. Just a really big guy. That's it. He doesn't have powers. He's just finding the power within himself. Or really, it was just, so a lot of people liked it, but I also know a lot of people who thought it was just about as unique as a fart.
Yeah, because again, I liked the moment, but as for the character, I mean, I didn't do backflips over him. I just liked his moment of the first I have the power, the fight with Hordak, but I was like the others because of my memories from my childhood of knowing a hero, of knowing something and seeing something that not many people seen when the lady showed me the Elder Beerman catalog at Elder Beerman, and knowing of these characters I thought were coming. So I knew that it was the guy that was going to be that was in that Preternia. I mean, the Powers of Grayskull, the first issue, part 1 of 3, where we never got part 2 of 3, and I kept waiting. When's it going to come? I understood, knew that was the guy. You could just tell that was him at the end. So I really was, just I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat, waiting through that whole episode of Powers of Grayskull. I was like, oh my god, we're going to see Hero, and I kept thinking, even within seeing King Grayskull, it was going to happen. And it just never did. So that was a big letdown for me. But yeah, if you gave me the choice of who do I prefer, I'm going to say, no doubt, Hero. Hero's the dude. That's the guy. That's the ancestor, the real ancestor.
Because it was an interesting take that he wasn't just, a great warrior. No, he's a wizard.
The most powerful wizard in the universe.
Most powerful wizard. That power that the guy is in control of is put into Grayskull and is kept encased in the Power Sword, along with all the other secrets of Grayskull, things like that. But that is the definitive power that He-Man is given to become He-Man, and it allows him to deflect things and just channel, the power of Grayskull through that sword is through Gray, aka Hero. So when we are all aware of this, and this knowledge had been available on the internet for a long time. If you were checking on the old Adam Tyner website or the early days of He-Man.org, the information was there. We all knew for a long time that was where the story was going, and that was going to be the origin of He-Man. So, when they're going back and bringing back characters like Evil Seed and Count Marzo from the old Filmation cartoon, it's like you kind of feel, okay, they're going back to the heyday of this stuff. They're not, they'll throw in a few new things here and there, but they're pulling from sources that we're very familiar with. What made you think that Hero and Eldor and the dinosaurs would have been a logical thing they were going to do? But they decided to nix that and come up with their own group of characters and elders instead of Eldor. Yeah. And that's what we got. And yes, a lot of people like it, but a lot of people don't like him at all. And I I make that well known. No bones about it, man. I just found the character just to be uninspiring and lazy and everything. But I digress because that was Dean Stefan's idea, and I still praise him for everything else he did on the show because
Oh
I'm
yes.
not here to be nasty about
No, no, no,
MYP
no,
today.
no, not at
Uh,
all. That's not our intention at all. Just like you said, just giving our opinions on the things. But
yeah.
all right, well, I think we have time for two questions here at the bottom before we wrap it up. And I can't remember if somebody's going to have trivia for us as well. But Brad Collins said, "How would you feel if they just continued with the MYP cartoon?" He said, "Season 3 onwards, continuing with the new ideas and canons they have introduced, or would you prefer a new cartoon from scratch?" Well, I mean, I know that a new MYP, I know that it won't continue. I mean, would I love it? Sure, I'd love it. I would have loved to finally seen the Horde and everything be introduced in what they had planned. It'd be fantastic. But we know it's not going to happen. So it'll probably have to be a new cartoon. But like we said earlier, I hope if there's a new cartoon, at least keep it in the same feel and vein of, Filmation slash into MYP to where, you can have serious takes to where it's for children and adults. I think you guys might get what I'm doing with that because there's been quite a conversation about some Thundercats. But yes, please, both fans. You don't want to just sit there and isolate one or just, focus on one group. We're here. We're the hardcore fans, been keeping Masters alive for so long by buying all the products, the merchandise, through fan sites, through websites, through pages on Facebook. So you definitely know if you're going to do Masters of the Universe, just give it the proper respect, and hopefully it would be something great. But I guess a new cartoon, because I know MYP wouldn't happen. I guess that's my answer. That's my answer. I don't know about you, Tyler.
Um, Kind of torn about it because season 3 we're supposed to get Clamp Champ, and of course the Horde were going to show up, and the heroic horse were going to be like rebels. The Horde would have taken over. Would have been an interesting story, but given how I felt that the Snake Men were not depicted as strong as they should have been, that's what worried me about the Horde. Like, we can be hyped up about it, but will they be depicted as strong as we're led to believe? Like with the Snake Men, you think that these guys are going to come in and kick everyone's ass, and that's not the case. Um, Another great moment is King Hiss devouring a Caligar warrior, and I think it's Awaken the Serpent. I think I didn't like the overall episode because of Fisto and Man at Arms bickering, but it was a great depiction of like, no, the Snake Men eat people alive. Like, it's depicted in Revenge of the Snake Men eating Zelar, Zodak's brother, but knowing these Caligar warriors have been captured to be devoured alive, and you see King Hiss putting a tail down his mouth. That was badass.
It was. No, it was. Agreed. Agreed. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that question, Brad.
Yes, I would probably probably a new cartoon, probably.
Okay. Okay. All right. JSP, real quick. He said, if He-Man is your pro wrestling champion, who would you book him to lose to? A screw job finish, obviously. He says screw job finish, obviously. So he says does not have to be limited to Masters of the Universe. Can be Marvel, DC characters as well. I don't know, Tyler. Since I rambled about the other one, you go ahead. Who do you think he would lose to with the screw job finish?
It would be, Skeletor's interference, and Clawful would be the new heavyweight champion of Eternia.
You got to give it to Clawful. There you go.
Skeletor would be like the mouthy manager, like Bobby the Brain Hand or Slick, and Clawful is his main guy, and they're booked at WrestleMania, on Eternia, and I'd have He-Man drop the belt to Clawful, like Clash of Arms Clawful. And
But that's a good Clawful, yeah.
Yeah, that version of Clawful. Skeletor interferes, distracts He-Man, and allows Clawful to put on his finisher, which I don't know at the moment because I hadn't thought of it. But that's what it would be, and it would be a fast count, much like something. Well, not a fast count. It would just be a simplistic. Skeletor gets He-Man's attention, and because He-Man's been beating Clawful during most of this fight, and allows Clawful to get the victor like a schoolboy, a small package, or just puts on his finisher. He puts on the grip of evil. There you go. That would be the name of Clawful's finisher. He's called the grip of evil. Good God Almighty! And He-Man's struggling
in Vince McMahon's voice, huh?
So that I would have Clawful from Clash of Arms get the heavyweight title from He-Man, and then through the summer, Clawful is defeating the heroic warriors. He beats Clamp Champ, he beats Fisto, he beats Cyclone, and then Heyman has to win the King of the Ring tournament to earn a title shot.
Oh God, the King of the Ring! You're bringing that.
Yeah. Say, they ought to have me booking wrestling, man. People will be turning out in droves to see this.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks for that question, JSP.
That was a question. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And well, the last one that was a teaser with Grimbot. You know, don't say this stuff. Kind of Grimbot, you shouldn't do that. He said, "How about a continuation of Filmation show?" He said, "Doors wide open for that with less regulations nowadays."
Oh no,
Great
no. That to me, I would choose over everything.
That would be fun because he said, great opportunity to tell proper stories. You're right. With nowadays, I don't think you got to do all the stuff of being careful of what you have to say. You have to think, oh my God, my thing is dying. My crap.
What?
Wait, my power's going. I'm going to have to switch. Hold on.
Oh, God.
Son of a gun. Unreal that it did this.
This is what we get for Joe using the ghetto setup with duct tape. Okay, I think he's officially died on me here live on the internet. I'm live on YouTube right now, and Joe has died on me here. All right. Well, I can't see people's questions. So, how can I keep this going here? All right, Joe?
Can you guys hear me? Hold on. Wait a second.
Are you in a plastic bubble? He's gone again.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good God. Well, earlier from the other show we did, I guess I used up all my power, but I charged it from that time on. I guess it didn't hold the complete charge. Damn it, Joe had to foil us in the last second. Now, yeah, what a maroon. There you go. So, damn it, I can't even see. Where the hell is the group chat? I got to switch to something else. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I'm back, and I can see. I'm sorry, Grimbot saying I'm a robot. Yeah, I got knocked out. Sorry about that, guys. I tried to come back as quick as possible. So I don't even know what the hell I just missed or what was said.
Well, no. Continue like more Filmation. Yes, I want to see more Lizard Man. I want to see Cyclone and Mossman done properly in Filmation. I want to see Too Bad done a lot more properly. I mean, I'd still like to see the opening to part one. Jeez, did you just like tear open your pants or something? It was like this tearing noise you did.
I took a piece of tape that was over the video camera.
You really are using duct tape over there.
Yeah. But wait, what the hell? Why? There still ain't no video though. I don't know what.
Well,
what the hell?
I see you, Joe. Relax. I can see you.
Oh, I couldn't see much. Oh wait, I forgot I was on the delay. Guys, you got to give me a proper second. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have yeah, there was a piece of tape there, so I moved the tape and there I'm back. God, what a maroon, just like you said. So yeah, a Filmation continuation. Yeah, that would be a dream, especially to see characters like it would be cool to see Ninja or Scareglow, characters like that which we never got in the Filmation cartoon. I mean, really, how cool would it be to have that? So no, so thank you for that tease, Grimbot. It would be a dream to have that as well. But
yeah, more strong arm. I like to see strong arm show up in more episodes. You know, that's something. And more Jitsu, more Chopper.
Hell yeah. That's what I mean. A lot of the characters that we barely got any of, or some that we got none of, it would just be great to see. I mean, hell, even characters that people like to pick on, like the Energy Zoids. How cool would it be to see them in Filmation as well, get some kind of cool proper treatment. So, all right, well, guys, I probably missed some of the stuff in the chat because of what happened, but you know it's almost time to wrap it up. So I'm sorry if I missed any questions, but I will get to Zentron's quote before we end the show. But I want to appreciate again everybody here that joined us in the chat room. You know, we always love having you here every week. We always try to acknowledge any of your questions and you know anything that you have to say. Like I said, it's not just us doing the show. You're doing the show with us as well. We're all fans of Power, so I really appreciate you guys being here. So before I wrap it up and do the trivia question from Zentron, I'm going to pass it to Tyler. If you have any closing things you want to say.
No.
All right. Fuck it. I mean, that's it.
Not on this episode. I got nothing else right now.
Okay. All right. Do you have nothing? And let me quick to say to Adam, no, I'm never going to take this mask off. It's like you guys don't want to see my face anyway. Trust me. You don't want to see it. But no, I'm not taking this mask off. So there, I answered your question. Now, let me just say the trivia question from Zentron. Here's his movie quote that he has to me and Tyler. His movie quote is, "You hired me to do a job. That's where your significance ends." Wait, you hired me to do a job. That's where your significance ends.
Don't know that one.
Damn it, I don't know. So Zentron, you stumped me. You stumped Tyler. So while I'm gonna do the closing real quick and pass it to Tyler for his quote, you're gonna have to give us the answer here in the chat room, and then I'm gonna have to try to figure out Tyler's. So I'm gonna do a different closing. I'm just gonna say, have a powerful day.
I don't puke when I drink. I puke when I don't.
Okay. First, let me say, Zentron said the movie was Steel Dawn. I don't even think I've ever seen that movie. What the hell was Steel Dawn?
I've never seen Steel Dawn with Patrick Swayze.
God, I feel bad. Never seen it. Sorry. I'm sorry, Zentron. Well, there, you stumped both of us. And then yours was about puking to drink or drink to puke, or what did you say?
I don't puke when I drink. I puke when I don't.
Oh, God, I don't know. Now I'm going to wait to see if anybody gets it in the chat room. We always leave it open for 30 seconds for somebody to try, and if they don't, then Tyler will tell the answer. I'm not going to look at the chat room because I'm done. I mean, I don't know the answer, so I'm not going to cheat. I have no clue. So let's see. Yeah, Jose, there's a thing that we do. It's always a fun thing at the end. We have this little like movie trivia or just a movie quote, and we see if anybody can guess it. I usually try, and I fail almost every single week horribly, and usually somebody in the chat room gets it. Let me see. Only close just me. I don't know. That doesn't look like I'm getting any answer there. It's been about 30 seconds, so Tyler, gotta let us off the hook. What is it?
Woody Harrelson in Kingpin.
Oh God, I couldn't remember. That's bad. And I love Kingpin. I mean, but that one I don't remember. I remember when he did puke after doing something particular in that movie. I mean, there was some good ass.
Well, yeah, of course everyone's gonna remember that. See, but this is later at the bowling tournament before he goes up against Bill Murray.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn! Wow! I'm still stumped. I can't even think of that. As you say, I can't even envision the scene. Huh?
Yeah. Bathroom Randy Quaid comes to check on him. He's like, "Are you puking in there, Mister Munson?" He says, damn it, are you or what are you doing in there, Mister Munson? Puking, Munson. Where do I keep getting Munson from? No, I'm puking.
Wow. Now I'm gonna have to watch Kingpin again just to see if I can catch that. Yeah, Dan Rice said he loves that movie. No, it is. I love that movie, but I sure the hell didn't know that quote. And I probably don't know a lot of the quotes, but I failed you once again. But again, all right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next week.